So the book, for those of you who know me, I've been a lifelong sailor. And one of the things that happened when I was undergoing rehab, so after I'm in the hospital, right, they kick me out. My sister puts me on a plane, wheels me out of the hospital wheelchair, puts me on a plane, helps me fly down to Florida, delivers me to my father, where I'm going to spend the next year in rehab in Florida. So I had this whole team of doctors in Naples, Florida, which was wonderful. And one of the things that my neurologist said to me, he said, "Who are you? You know, what do you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I love to sail. I love boats. You know, I'm in Florida and there's water." And he said, "Good, great." He said, "I want you to, you know, spend as much time doing that as possible." I couldn't in the beginning because my balance was very difficult. I'd injured the part of my brain which controls balance. But anyway, my mother was also a lifelong sailor and loved boats. And the fact that she had, and my father was just retiring at the time of her accident, and they were hoping to do some more sailing, and she never got to realize that dream. And my brother-in-law died of cancer around the same time, and he had been a lifelong sailor. And so when I was finally well enough again to do things, the first thing I did was say, I'm going to buy a boat. And not just any boat, but my fiance and I bought a 60-foot sailboat that we found in St. Martin that was rotting in a corner of a boatyard. And decided to fix it up and sail it north and live on her. And so a lot of the book revolves around the idea of figuring out who you really are. Because when you're a traumatic brain injury patient, you really have lost your sense of self and your ability to think and understand who you are. But of course, that can be true for a lot of us for various reasons and situations. So anyway, I took my doctor's advice, bought this crazy boat. And a lot of the book, there's a thread that it's the sort of metaphor of the book is sailing and the passage and the journey. So I'm going to read you one of those chapters now. And the chapter is called Water Wisdom. And it begins with little Poe. Shower body, empowers soul. Early one morning as we lay at anchor in the Bahamas, I thought about the Japanese love of soaking in hot baths and the enchanting communal hot spring baths or onsen I'd visited in the Japanese Alps, with steam rising off the obsidian water while snow fell from the infinite sky. I was thinking about the haiku I had just read by the Japanese poet Enroshi, and Enroshi is a Zen priest, Soen Nakagawa. Sound of ocean, sound of mountain, everywhere spring rain. All of this got me ruminating on the importance of water, how it nourishes us, soaking in it, drinking it, sailing on it, floating in it, letting it cleanse us, hearing its sounds, roaring waves, babbling brooks, trickling rivulets, how we are made up of 55 to 60% water, how a steamy shower can soothe, wake, and refresh us. We don't rough it on Nirvana, that's the name of our boat. She has a hot water heater and carries 600 gallons of fresh water, so hot showers are possible, although they are much shorter than on land. Living on a boat teaches conservation of precious resources. When I was undergoing rehab in Naples, I would rise every morning before dawn and take my zafu and zabuton, black meditation cushions, and walk out on the dock behind my parents' house and meditate for a half hour, while fish gently rose to the surface, herons waded in the shallows, and a gentle morning breeze riffled the water's surface and played over my skin. Then I would go to the nearby beach on the Gulf of Mexico and take a long walk, listening to the healing sounds of the waves washing the beach. Pelicans flew across the tops of the waves, terns stood at the water's edge. I would see a handful of other people walking or jogging. Occasionally I would see a manatee swimming along the shoreline or dolphins playing offshore. At first, I could not go into the water. I had severe vertigo from my brain injury, and my neurologist had told me that I would become so disoriented that I could drown in only 3 feet of water. This was hard to believe for someone who had spent his life in and around the water and was a strong swimmer. At one point when I was younger, I even had my lifeguard certification. Several days after that conversation with my neurologist, I was walking the wide Gulf beach and decided to wade into the warm waters and float on my back, feeling the soothing, healing, salting embrace. I stayed in the shallows, only going up to mid-thigh. I lay back, dipping my head in the water, and suddenly my head started to spin. I had no idea which way was up or down. I struggled to my feet and somehow staggered to shore and fell to my knees in the sand, panting heavily, vowing never to doubt my neurologist again. For the next few months, I just walked the beach. never daring to enter the water. But just being near it, seeing it, hearing it, smelling the salt air, and putting my toes in the ocean had a powerful restorative effect on my brain and body, which was still racked with pain. Eventually, I was able to swim and to lie on my back, floating in the Gulf's warm, caressing waters. Then I would come back to the house and shower, feeling refreshed and empowered and ready to face the often painful day of therapy that lay ahead. So I read you that chapter for several reasons. One, it's a very inclusive chapter. It covers the three major themes of the book: traumatic brain injury, Zen Buddhism and spirituality, the healing power of nature, and also water and sailing. It's also very indicative, and that's the length of the chapter. There's many, many little short, small chapters like that. They're all connected, but and part of that is a result of my brain injury because I could not remember well enough to write longer chapters. But I also kind of liked it, and I thought it was good from a modern standpoint. It's the kind of thing you can just read a little short chapter and when you have time, and then read another one when you have other time.